Hello and welcome to Office Hours with David Meltzer, Office Hours number 708. I am Blaine Bartlett, co-host with David and sometimes Rhett Power. David is not joining us today for a variety of different reasons. So Rhett is delayed. We'll see if he actually shows up as well. So right now it's the Blaine Bartlett Show, Office Hours with Blaine Bartlett. And today we've got three fascinating guests lined up. So we'll just kind of jump into this and bring our first guest up. So Gigi, why don't you bring her out of the green room?
Hello.
And there we go. Tami Reiss is here, and we've got a book to talk about. We've got some influencing strategies to talk about. You're the CEO of a company called Leader Within. And Tami, I'm just fascinated by this. I've been, working in leadership development for 40 plus years. And the definition that we leverage off of is that leadership is an activity of influencing in order to co-create coordinated movement in pursuit of a worthy ideal.
That's great. That's too many words for me to say on a podcast.
Well, we parse it down
eloquently.
Yeah.
And I agree. So I often in my talks, because I'm a public speaker and corporate trainer, say authority is an illusion. Authority is a myth. If you think at any point in your life, the title you have is going to mean people are going to listen to you and follow you, you're wrong.
And you're going to lose them real quick.
And a lot of leaders forget that. They forget that they still have to be selling their employees on this idea of the future you're building together, on the impact you're trying to generate, on the people you're trying to serve. And from the top on down, everybody needs to learn influence. And everyone needs to master it as a skill and think of it as any other skill that you're going to get better and better and better at over time.
Mm-hmm. Well, that point about you need to learn influence by default, we're always influencing anyway.
Yeah.
So the real challenge is to do it with intention. And leaders cause movement. That's any leader in the world. That's what they do. And by definition, everybody's always causing movement of some sort. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Our energy impacts others' energy for sure.
Absolutely. We've got to accommodate each other's presence. So that whole notion of learning to be intentional with influence has to do with what's the movement I'm causing and is it serving the outcome that I want to produce?
So I refer to that outcome as where do you want to go? Where do you want to go as an individual? Where do you want to go as a team? Where do you want to go as a company? And that where is supposed to be a destination. Mm-hmm. Too often we think about success as getting what we want. And to me, success is getting where we want to go. If you think about it, people say, I'm in a really great place in my life. I'm in a really great place in my career. Our business is in a really great place right now. Describe that place. Describe the impact you're having in that world, on the people that are around you, on the companies that are around you. And that is success, not any other small accolade or goal along the way. And per what you're talking about, what leaders are trying to do is they're trying to move as many people as possible in that direction, rowing in that direction, because without that where to, as I like to shorthand it, we get distracted. We don't know where we're headed. And often we're headed away from something instead of towards something.
To that point, the conversation and leadership is a relational sport, as far as I can tell. Yeah, it's all relational.
Only on this show would it be called a sport.
Yeah. Hey, it works here. We got a playbook. We've got all kinds of stuff. But the idea of generating meaning, because behavior is always organized around meaning. Why is it meaningful for me to do this? Purpose. Yeah.
Valuable.
And I can't tell you why it's meaningful to you. I can tell you why it's meaningful to me, but we're going to hit a 10% revenue increase this year. That's meaningful to me and my board, but who cares in the line? Yeah. So how do you, with your clients in the work that you do, address this question of generating inspirational, not motivational, inspirational meaning?
So, to me, part of describing that vision, answering where do we want to go, is telling a story. You're telling a story that gets ingrained in people's minds and becomes that inspiration, that becomes a compass and guides every choice they make. And we make something like 35,000 conscious choices a day.
Hmm.
And why not encourage and inspire people to choose things that are going to get you closer? And so, what I encourage people to understand is that value, meaning, are all a does this help me get closer to where I want to go? Does this help me get
That,
closer to success?
that destination.
And sometimes we're going to get distracted, but if we have that compass, we can come back. And so, when I think about the leader within, it has a double meaning. I believe anybody can be a leader. I have a gregarious personality and confidence in spades. I'm
Yeah.
a born leader, but I still had to learn to influence.
See that, and that's everybody's a leader by definition because we're always causing movement. But
Yeah.
are you effective? That question
Are
of
you
effectiveness
with
is
intention,
influence.
right?
Yeah,
Are
it's
you
influence
leading with
first.
intention?
So that leads me to a question about your book.
Okay.
Yeah, leaders, are born. Every one of us is born, so we're all leaders. But when we start growing up, we start learning not to be leaders because we have to fit within a certain structure. School demands some things of us, social, I mean, all that kind of stuff. You
Authority shows
got
up.
absolutely. So what do product managers do? It's a fascinating title, but it basically is a leadership book for kids.
It's a leadership book for kids. So my background is in product management, product strategy at some of the biggest tech companies you've heard of and VCs, et cetera. And we always say product managers have to master influence without authority. Because very often we're influencing developers to do things and designers to do things and the go-to-market teams to do things and the executives to do things. And so I've had to master influence. And when I had my daughter, Ruth, who's now 5, there was no book to teach her about what it was that I did. And so I wrote a book called What Do Product Managers Do? A primer for aspiring PMs of all ages and parents who aren't sure it's a real job. And it's coming out in May. I'm so excited. The illustrations are beautiful. And it's a way to teach kids about collaboration with other team members, that the product manager works with the designer, the engineers, and the sales and the marketing, but also how do you make choices towards a vision? And how do you encourage other people to come along on that journey with you? Because we can't do it alone.
Yeah. We're
The
never
name
going to
of the
do it
game is
alone.
collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing ever has been created by one person. It's always a
Agreed.
collaboration of sorts. Yeah.
Yes. And the most successful companies aren't just measured in revenue, they're measured in number of employees. How many people does it take to make this move forward and to sustain it?
Mm. The key of sustainability there. I mean, we've got a couple of other shows, and we were talking before we went live here about the 10-minute timeline that we work with on this show. I'd like to have you back on one of at least on one of the
Oh
other
my
shows that we do. I've got a long form conversation show, The Soul of Business. It's a podcast, Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. Will come up and we'll have a long conversation about the book as well as our
Love it.
respective takes on influencing strategies.
I think that you and I are very simpatico on this one.
I think we're going to have a good conversation. We already have had. We've got a good primer here.
Agreed.
Tami,
Agreed.
where can people find out more about what you're up to?
So you
I
can go
know.
to TamiReiss.com or myleaderwithin.com. There you can find information about the book, information about me as a speaker, corporate trainer, and a link to a chat GPT I created so that people can get my advice, even if you aren't paying me thousands of dollars.
Okay, that sounds good.
Awesome.
Tami Reiss, thank you very much. We will have you on another show. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so
It's a
much.
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
You bet. Take care. 10 minutes is not enough. I just kind of scratch my head sometimes, and I appreciate the fact that we've got guests that we want to just kind of make sure they get exposure. And But some of these conversations, they just, when they open up, it's kind of like, wait a minute, the clock is going way too fast. And I've got a hunch that our next guest, Bill Kennedy, is also going to be the same kind of a conundrum for me. Bill's been on the show before. Bill, David is not making it today, so you've got me to work with. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Hey, it's great to see you again, Blaine. And hey, we like it better without David because you're way cooler. So
it's the color of the hair that does it.
Yeah, you and I both got going on.
Oh, we got all kinds of good stuff going on here. And you've got a book that's also, we're just talking with Tami about this, but you've got a book that's coming out, Earn the Right to Grow, Increase Revenues, Reduce Costs, and Create Profit Faster. It's a mouthful, but that actually works really well. And I'd love to hear what's going on with, you're on mute here, Bill.
No, you're doing great. Sorry, someone was coming in making a noise. So I
heard. I didn't know if that was your dog in the background or me.
It's mine. It's mine. So okay. Yeah, sorry about that. But the name of the book is From Panic to Profit. The other thing you read is the subtitle. So and I think is exciting for this time that we're living in, for sure.
Yeah, panic to profit. That's they're not oftentimes brought together.
It's funny that you be brought together more often than not, because it's funny, I was on a show earlier today and we were talking about the times we were in, and I said, we're always in these times. There's always something going on. It's out of our control. Guys like us with gray hair and stuff, we've seen it, right? Great recessions, oil embargoes, you name it, we've been around. We're always in this state of flux. We're not sure what's happening. But our goal, the thing that we have to do, is get ourselves to a much better place. And in this case, it's about making money. So we put profit there.
Well, we can't control what goes on outside. It's all we can really manage is our thinking and the way we behave. And excuse me, I had a bit of surgery yesterday. They had a tube down my throat. So.
Oh my! Well, I can't believe you're here today. You doing okay?
Oh, I'm doing fine.
Perfect.
It's just I don't like these tubes when they, it was a little bit of an abdominal thing. It's all fine, minor, but I digress. The idea of panic, when things happen outside of us, it's out of our control. It brings to mind for me, and I'm be very interested in your take on this. The idea of sustainable success. When things go off the rail and people kind of go, oh my God, hair gets on fire and away we run. The way that I've come to work with my clients and, the way we actually kind of play with sustainability is it's about developing the capacity to continuously start over. And if I'm not starting over in a pretty regular way in my life, I find that I'm actually in a rut, and rut is just a coffin with the ends kicked out.
That's a great saying. You're so right. At the end of the day, we're all going to get knocked down. The difference between the winners and the losers, if you will, are the ones that brush themselves and get back up, right? So if you fall, as Thomas Edison said, I fell 10,000 times. It just means I'm that much closer to success. It's 10,000 things didn't work. So for us, the secret in life, the secret to everything is getting up, pointing yourself to your true north and trying to make something happen. And that's really what all the book's about.
Yep.
I was just going to say there's a process in it. It's one thing to be.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing to be aspirational, but you got to actually have to, know how to go do it. And we're kind of like carpenters. At the end of the day, we all use the same tools, right? We got hammers and saws and screwdrivers, but we're going to go build something. And that could be a house. It could be a condo. It could be a mansion in the sky. It's about the blueprint. And what Panic to Profit does, and what other books like this are, it's really about laying out how do you go ask those questions. Your guest before was talking about teams and working together. That's the core of everything. You've got to be able to set a goal as a leader, as a CEO, get people to buy in, because ultimately they're the ones that's going to make it happen for us.
Absolutely. And you've got the Pareto notion here, 80-20. Where does this fit into? Now, in the book, you talk about your profitable growth operating system. So you've got an OS in here, but where does this 80-20 actually fit into your operating system? How do you parse that out?
Yeah, it's a great question. 80/20 is all about the data, right? From Vilfredo Pareto back about 100 years ago out in his garden in Italy, noticed that pea pods, he loved studying them, 80% of his yield came from 20% of his crop, right? And as he went through life, he started noticing and everything from landowners to producing assets to you name it, he looked at it. Well, it's the same thing with us. We make most of our money, most of what we're looking for out of a very small percentage. In fact, about 20%. All 80/20 is just simply mapping out the data set that you're working with, finding out where you're making money, where you're losing money, trying to do a little bit more of the first, a little bit less of the second will get you there. Now, 80/20, doing that simple data, it's just facts. It doesn't tell you your strategy. It doesn't tell you how you're going to get there. It just tells you the tools that you're working with. And that's really what the OS or the operating system is all about. Is it takes people, right? So we talk about HR. It takes the process, 80/20, or we call it segmentation. Strategy, of course. So you're going somewhere. How are you going to get there? Acquisitions are a big part of it as well. So it lays out these 5 key tools that you have to have. But you start with the data. The data is irrefutable. You have to decide what you're going to do with it, though.
And the data informs the decisions.
It certainly does. Just like in our own lives, right? We get up in the morning, we look at the temperature. If it's 80 degrees, we're dressing one way. If it's 30 degrees, we're dressing another. You can make a choice to go out in 30-degree weather in shorts if you like that. And by the way, I lived in Chicago a long time. We went outside in shorts in 30 degrees. But, it's up to you. It's important you know what the situation is so you can make a decision that supports you and your vision.
Which is spot. I mean, I just finished the show just before we started this show, and it was a deep dive on the nature of decision making. And,
that's right.
Yeah, the idea that the decisions that we're making actually frame and form our future, and that's actually my dog this time.
I think you must have heard mine, so they're communicating on a new level.
That's funny.
By the way, for a second, I thought it was mine again. This little 9-pound puffball can make more noise, so it's a.
That's why I've got a 6-pound one that's doing the same thing.
This means they love us. I'm Blaine. That's all it is.
But here's where I was going with this notion on decisions. Yeah, when we talk about decisions within a leadership context, most people default to thinking big decisions. Yeah, CapEx, expenditures, that kind of stuff. But when we come down to it, in any organization, probably 95%, if not more, of the decisions that are made are tiny little decisions. Day in and day out, I make a decision while I'm walking with somebody down to the coffee room. A decision then gets operationalized and executed. In the way that we work, and specifically directed towards your operating system here, how do you begin to create alignment with these minor decisions? Because little by little, a little becomes a lot, and all of a sudden you've got this aggregation of a whole lot of decisions that have been made that are kind of antithetical to where we wanted to go. So
yeah, such a great point. Typically, my process there's 4 steps to it. So you start with the CEO, and the CEO determines the goal. Where are we going, right? So what hill are we going to take? The staff sets up the strategy to go and get us there, right? And then that strategy needs to be done by your leaders in your organization because they have to have ownership of it. As you start laying these steps out, what you're saying is exactly right. It's a million small decisions that are going to get us there. We're fighting for inches here on this because, as Eisenhower said, plans are absolutely useless, but the art of planning is critical. And so you're going to take a step forward. You're going to see what happens. You're going to learn, and then you're going to pivot, or maybe you go further a little more. Sometimes you go backwards. It's all okay. It's taking this incremental piece. The second side that I find really important is try to avoid making bet the company decisions, right? Yeah. Do pilot tests, do little examples out there, get your team in. And I tell people it's about progress, not perfection. Let's try not to make the same mistakes time and again. But ultimately, these decisions are going to inform, can you achieve that goal? Can you get there in a meaningful manner? And you can bring everyone with you.
Great. Now, your book is dropping actually next month, I believe, right?
April 29th. It'll be in all big bookstores. So wherever all your favorite bookstores, whether it's Amazon or Barnes & Noble, we'll also have it in about 160 airports around the country. So we're pretty excited.
Okay,
about
you got some pretty good distribution going on there. That's great. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, we partnered with Wiley on this one. They're a fantastic publisher.
Oh,
We couldn't
Wiley's
be
great.
we got
great.
really
Good.
Yeah, our
good.
first book, the 8026 CEO, was a bestseller, and we were able to get some attention. In fact, we were on your show before, so we're hoping Panic to Profit will do the same. It's a really nice, neat book.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to invite you to come on to my Soul of Business podcast as well. Now that I've got a conversation planted here. I did this with the previous guest too. I love having these conversations, and 10 minutes is just not enough for me. I mean, quite frankly.
Same thing. We wind up, we're like a rock skipping across the pond. It's exciting to talk about. To really get into it, you're going to need a little bit more time. Absolutely. I can't thank you enough for having me today.
Oh, Bill, can't thank you enough for coming back. I truly appreciate it. Folks, you can find out more about him at billkennedy.com. There we go. Thank you, Georgiani, Gigi. billkennedy.com. Information about the book, information about what he's up to. I mean, all that stuff is planted right on that website. So take advantage of it. Do yourself a favor. Go scour the web and see what you come up with.
Thank you again. Listen, I hope you feel better. It's good to see you again. Take care. Give Dave my best. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, buddy. Great guests. Great. I love these guests today, Gigi. This is a good thing. I like how we're working this. And I've got free reign here. I don't have Rhett. I don't have David. I just get to kind of, riff and free form. So this is kind of good. Those of you that turned in to see Office Hours with David Meltzer, I'm kind of sort of apologizing for the fact that he's not here. But I'm also enjoying the fact that, like I said, I've got free reign and I can kind of play with this in some fascinating ways. So our next guest, Ed Eskenazi. Did I get that right, Ed? Eskenazi? Eskenazi. Okay. Apologies, Eskenazi. Founder of Terns. Now, tern is a bird.
That's correct.
A little tiny bird. And you've got a sun care product that, given your background as a chemical biologist and also an outdoorsman, diver, longtime surfer and fisherman, you and I are going to get along great here. I've been scuba diving for years and I love to fish. Matter of fact, I just sold my boat. It's the first time in 25 years I haven't had a boat. And
best 2 days of your life are when you buy it and when you sell it.
Exactly. And I've got friends that have them, so I don't need to go get another one right now. But that's enough about me. What are we doing with terns here? Every day. Terns, every day, May Day after sun care products. This is a unique, and I've used the word unique very advisedly here. It is unique in the sector of sun care products. What makes it unique?
Yeah, I think our premise is, I think people really have learned to take care of their skin, and specifically sunblock is a big part of that, right? Like getting of UVA and UVB rays hitting your skin, but there's a lot more that we can do in helping our skin when exposed to sun and wind and everything that comes with being outdoors, including pollution. So we've really been focusing on understanding the underlying biology of what happens when you get exposed, and using my background as a marine chemical discoverer, a chemical biologist, focusing on extracts and different plants and organisms in the ocean that could yield sort of insights into how we might treat those things. So we're really using novel science to understand these extracts and how they might help recover your skin from exposure. So the idea is we can do a lot, beyond sunscreen to help our skin. So if you think about aloe, that's sort of our competition, but we've gone much beyond that to create a product that helps when you've been exposed.
So after exposure comes into play here, but I saw an article the other day about the majority of sunscreen products on the market have basically a carcinogen base to them in some way, shape, or form. Yes, they block the UV, but they do some potentially, particularly of long-term use, significant damage to the skin, as well as to the body itself. with your research into the chemical biology, particularly marine chemical biology, what was the path you took or discovered that have kind of led you to this could be used in this in this product? I never had connected those dots. How did that not get connected?
It's a fascinating story. I hadn't ever connected it. I was a 28-year-old graduate student at UCSD focusing on biomedical science, neuroscience, and I got diagnosed with cancer. And it was a big blow to me. I was a super healthy kid, a surfer, fisherman, and all of a sudden I was very ill. And I moved to New York to undergo treatment, Western medicine, typical sort of cancer treatment. And I found out that a lot of the medications that I was being put on were actually originally derived from nature. And even though I was a scientist, I had no idea. So that was kind of a really fascinating light bulb for me. And I started looking into it and realized that most of our medicines are actually derived from an original natural source. Mm-hmm. And being a diver and a fisherman and a surfer, I thought, well, what about the ocean? What's in the ocean? And so I dove into that field, reached out to some people at Scripps Oceanography, and they welcomed me in, and I changed my career and my path and really devoted myself to finding ways to accelerate the discovery of things in the ocean and how they might be used for medicine. And actually, I founded a company called Serenus, and we amassed the largest data set connecting sort of that chemistry from the ocean to human health. And that includes, cancer molecules, immune modulating molecules, antibacterials. We worked with the Gates Foundation quite a bit on malaria, and had some fascinating discoveries along the way. So it was really the genesis, for Turns. Turns came about thinking about the problem of after sun and thinking that we had this huge repository of information, and putting those two things together really kind of, was the catalyst.
The name Turns, and I know we only got 10 minutes here, but I'm always fascinated by how companies get named, particularly by founders. Because the company's been around for a while, the name will change perhaps eventually, but that's a marketing thing rather than anything else.
Yeah.
But that wasn't how you formed or picked the name. I've got a hunch. It didn't have a marketing intent as much as it had something more personal.
Well, I mean, as a fisherman, we've always used terns as birds to kind of guide us a little bit, and to let us know where the fish are. And as we looked into, their story a bit more, they travel the world. They have the longest migrations. They go from the Arctic to the North Pole to the South Pole, and really they follow the sun and the light. We thought that was a great sort of mascot for us, for this company.
I love that. Well, you can find out more about what Ed is up to here at turns.com. And I apologize, truly. I know David would love to have it. He lives in San Diego. Well, he's got a place in San Diego as well, which is where you're hailing from right now, I think.
That's right.
But I know that he would love to have a conversation with you as well. So we will have you back on the show.
Great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank you for kind of coming on here and spending some time with me. I know that you didn't expect just me here, so I appreciate your collegiality.
I like you. Yeah, you seem like a great host. Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm up on an island here, so if you ever want to come up north from San Diego, just come straight up the coast, and we'll do some cold water diving up here.
I look forward to it.
Okay. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it. Take care.
Yep.
And folks, that kind of brings us to a close on office hours number 708. I am Blaine Bartlett. You see a QR code there. We run a mastermind program. We do 2 a year. They're a year-long program, so I run 2 year-long programs. Scan this mastermind QR code, and you'll be taken to a landing page that has got information about it. It's a waiting list proposition. So we fill these things up, and we want to be sure that people have at least an opportunity to come in. So if you're interested in getting a little bit more in depth on your leadership effectiveness, this will be one place to go. It is we're running into this is our 5th year of doing these programs, so we've got a pretty good track record with them. I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised at how deep we go and how effective the work that we do in this program actually is. It is, like I said, a year long. It is not for the faint of heart, but if you're running an organization, if you are interested in getting one-on-one time with myself and my partner, Dolan White, feel free to click the QR code or the URL and check out the landing page. We'd love to have you join the waiting list, and we'll let you know when there's an opening. Okay. And until next time, we've got David tomorrow. So Gigi, you want to put that Sharon back up again? So David's there he is, 6 a.m. His free training at well, you know where, if you've been watching this, you know where to go. So register to get a fancy copy of his book. And I think that's probably Connected to Goodness. And we will see you on the next Thursday office hours. This is the Soul of Business edition with Blaine Bartlett on office hours. And I thank you for listening, folks. Take care.
Yeah.